Hi again everyone, Scott Pyre Popcorn fan here, and in this video, last weekend, they announced that The Last of Us show has in fact been renewed for a second season, and that was expected because the show's been very widely praised by fans and critics alike. It's doing quite the numbers in regards to viewership, and it was not surprising to me when it got announced to be renewed for a second season this past weekend. So I want to talk about what they could do because I've heard that some of the crew talked about how they would adapt to the second game for probably multiple seasons, because the second game, Last of Us Part 2, is a much bigger game than the first one, and there's a lot there. There's a lot there that definitely warrants more than a couple seasons, for sure. So they could definitely take the time to flesh that story out a lot more, and also because of the fact that they've already deviated with some pretty big changes, especially in the most recent episode 3. I definitely think they can make the story of the second game better, because they've done that with this first season of The Last of Us, where you think of the character of Bill, right? And he's completely unlikable to a degree in the game, and in the show, what they did, spoiler warning, because I've done spoilers in these videos because it's something that I'm very passionate about, and with the fact that this past episode 3, it was a love story that had a happy ending for Bill and his partner Frank, who wasn't in fact mentioned in the game, but what they did was different, but it deviated for a much better cause, in a sense that it was just beautifully written. The two actors were just, wow, they were great in their roles as Bill and Frank, and I definitely felt something watching the episode. I was intrigued, I was hooked, and oh wow. And also, I liked how the beginning of the episode started with Joel and Ellie going to Bill's place, and then you get flashbacks from back to 2003 once again, and we see how Bill, in the sense that how he is in the game, is sort of how he is when he starts. He's very antisocial. He prepares even before this whole pandemic cordyceps fungus thing started. Even before it, he was prepping. He was going to a freaking, I think it was a Home Depot, and he was just preparing. He was getting that suburban town all booby-trapped up and ready. He was barricading himself in this town and basically made the town his own. And that was a really cool sequence. I loved that. Probably my favorite part of the episode. And then, but also just the journey for Bill's character, and the fact that Frank, he had a healthy relationship with him for almost 20 years within these flashbacks, and it was just so well written, so well realized, and also is a sort of a parallel to Joel and Ellie's arc throughout the game and the show, and I thought that was just so well done. And the way they ended it, like I said, spoilers, because they both went out together, Bill and Frank. Oh wow. And just that last shot where the camera was on Joel and Ellie and then zoomed back into that bedroom but didn't show them, I thought that was beautiful. Oh wow. And I'm loving this show, and I'm so glad that it's getting renewed and continuing, because they can definitely change things about the second story from the second game, and for the better, hopefully. Definitely. And improving on things that were controversial in the second game, and make it better, hopefully. And oh wow, in regards to what they could do also, like for the future of the video game series, I do think that there's more story to tell with where they ended Ellie's character in the second game. I do think they left it open ended in the second game, and they could continue it still if they wanted to, if they just had the right story and the reasons for why a third game would be warranted. I do think that there is more story to tell for sure, and that'd be really awesome. And I mean, like I said, I haven't played the games myself, but I've seen several playthroughs on YouTube. So, yeah, the second game, wow, it was brutal. It was brutal. It was violent, especially in the gameplay, and I definitely think that they would probably make it not as brutal once they adapt it for the next couple seasons, but still have that same emotional weight with the characters as well once they do adapt it. And I think that'll be really fascinating. And and also the third episode this past weekend on Sunday, where they ended it, there were some lines straight from the game, and how Joel was putting some rules, some not barriers, but some ground rules for Ellie, and you don't bring up Tess ever, and then repeat it, and then Ellie's what you say goes, and all of that is straight from the game, and I love that. So yeah, great episode once again. I loved it easily. One of the best episodes of the show. I feel like will be for me. Granted, I'm definitely gonna be in quite for the ride this season, and just the emotional journey with Bill and Frank. Oh my goodness, that was such a beautifully well written episode with their characters. And yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place here, but yeah, season 2 will definitely be rather interesting. I do think that there's like a 5-year gap between the first game and the second game, and I feel like what they could do is sort of focus on those 5 years, and for like season 2 or season 3, and then save the events of Last of Us Part 2 for seasons 4 and 5 if the show gets that far. I feel like the events of Last of Us Part 2 could easily be like the end game for the show, if you ask me. That would be rather interesting, but I understand though if they adapt the second game for the next couple seasons. That's understandable too, but it'll be rather interesting if they just sort of focus on that 5-year time gap between the games for the seasons 2 and 3. I think that'd be a little bit more interesting if you ask me, and then have the events of the part 2 be sort of the end game of the show. I think that'd be really cool, but we'll see how that goes. And yeah, that should do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and my next video I might cover the DC slate of movies maybe that James Gunn is revealing today. That might be my next video, so stay tuned. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one. Peace.